What's up, Zox fam? Obviously, in Tribe 9, we want premium currency. And I feel like a lot of players are doing one portion of this process, but not really doing the other. And I wanted to actually take a little bit more time to dive deeper into what exactly you should be requesting and why exactly you should be doing it, right? Now, of course, with that, the trading system that exists within the game is done via the happy worker. And I feel like with the change that they made to the currency that we're able to get from it, it actually ends up being a fair amount of crystals that you don't want to miss out on, especially because this ends up accumulating and becoming something that you're going to be utilizing month to month to month to helping you with the gacha outside of the other content within the game. Now, some of the stuff that I want to talk about first here, if we actually go over to the branch manager, the branch manager has obviously the missions here. And I want to actually correct something because in my previous video, I think from an early game standpoint, the Kane didn't seem as important. But once you start building up stuff, Kane is extremely important. I would even argue now, more so at in-game, it's more important than TP. But I will say that all in all, what ends up happening is that you end up just deciding on what you need the most at that moment, and that's what you aim for, right? Because even when you go over to the Minato City actually will have things like the boosters, for example. So if you're short on boosters, then that's something you want to aim for as well. Now, it also is going to be important to making sure that you check the mission, right? Because if you go over to Shinagawa will have a Kane quest with 50k like Kane, for example, with the 40 gems that you can get for it. But then if you go over to Minato, actually, no, let's go back. We do not want that mission. Let's forfeit. Thank you. If you go back over to Minato will have a quest with a booster, for example, where it actually will have the booster with 40 gems and then the 50k. So this is a mission I would accept, right? Like I wouldn't skip over that mission. Ones like this where it has like the booster with the gems with the Tokyo stamps. I mean, that kind of could be okay, but right now I need Kane, right? So that's my main goal. I'm looking for missions that are going to give me, a good quantity of that. And if I can get, say a double up where I'm getting the booster and Kane, hey, I'll take it, right? But later on, you'll alternate this as you see fit, right? And again, this is going to be equating to 120 of the currency that you get. So just simply doing this every single day, for example, let me bust out my handy dandy calculator. If you do this every single day, right, there's 7 days in a week, 7 resets, right? You're basically going to be getting 840 crystals just for doing your dailies, right? Now, of course, I want to give you guys some numbers because this will kind of contextualize what you're getting if you do what you need to do, right? So that's basically that, right? So you get that 840 there. Now, the other thing is that there's another 30 crystals per day that you can also obtain via the request, right? So let's actually go back real quick. Now, I want to move over to the staff member. Keep in mind that the staff member is also really important because the staff member is going to have another set of cubes that you're going to be able to obtain from requesting. Now, I want to talk about a few different points here that's really important. Now that I'm at this point where I've been able to see what income looks like, how easy it is to do one thing versus another, I definitely will say that one of the things you want to be mindful of is what resource requires you to utilize a booster, what resource requires more grinding, etc. Right? Now, real quick though, just to kind of do some quick math, keep in mind that you are able to deliver 3 items per day or to 3 people per day. That's 30 crystals that you're able to get, right? Now, when you're actually doing the math on that, that's basically going to be 30 times 7, which is going to equal 210. And then when you multiply that by 4 weeks or by 4, that's actually going to be 840 crystals. So if you have not been doing this, you literally have been almost skimping yourself on basically a multi, right? Now, the thing is that somebody might be like, I'm okay without that. But I promise you, if you're free to play, you want to make sure you're accumulating 840 crystals. That just kind of is literally equivalent value over a course of a week of doing a whole chapter, right? Like, or more than a chapter. Because keep in mind, we got 600 crystals for just completing chapter 2, right? You get 840 for just doing your dailies, right? And that's just one side of it. That's not the actual the quest, the daily quest. This is just the request, right? So outside of that, okay, I want to talk about the actual lineup that I have right here amongst my friends and the items that they're requesting. So Thugger here, shout out to the homie Thugger, is honestly unfortunately requesting the wrong item. The reason why I would say this is an item you don't want to request is simply because this one is a item that would have to be crafted, right? So somebody would have to craft up on this at this point in the game. And then two, this is also a item that is utilizing a booster, right? So with that being the case, this is a much more likely resource that somebody's not going to trade to you. The other thing is too, is that it is the highest rarity of it. So more than likely, no one's going to trade this to you. You have to also factor into how many people are currently at end game, and most people aren't at end game. Most people aren't even at the point of having a rank 5 to even rank EXing a character yet, right? So when you're talking about requesting high value resources like this, you have to just kind of be aware of what it takes to obtain something, because that ultimately will dictate what you can trade. Shout out to Millie as well. Millie is actually requesting the brewing code. And the brewing code is another item that I would say you probably wouldn't really request. The other reason behind that is because this is also another item that requires boosters primarily. You can't get them to drop in chests randomly, but I will say that primarily if you're looking to get these in bulk, it's going to be from using your booster. So it's a little bit harder to obtain. Now, granted, this is the lowest rarity of that item, but 45 of that item is definitely a lot. I would be honest. That is quite a bit for someone to trade off. So I will say that the items that you ultimately want to trade, and what I found to be the most efficient, but also doesn't really cost you anything, is actually going to be the Brave Diode and also the Rage Stabilizer. Now, you might be wondering, why is that? Aren't those from bosses? Well, yeah, but the bosses are retryable infinitely. Whereas when you're looking at the items that take up boosters, we technically have a limitation to how many boosters we can do regularly until we find the next booster. Now, the thing is that these bosses don't require any stamina or a booster, and you're basically able to do them as many times as you want. And each time you do them, they will drop an item. And with that, this is also going to be one of the lower quantities of an item that's going to allow you to really honestly do this probably once or twice at a certain point in the game, and then you're just ready to be able to trade that item off. And I will say that it's definitely, again, it's a boss, so I get it. Some people might be like, oh, but I gotta, fight that boss. And I'm telling you, once you actually get down pat these bosses, they're not that hard. And realistically, like I said, this is going to be one of the more efficient items for you to be able to trade off, so that you're able to get the most out of utilizing the request system and getting that 30 gems per day. Now, the other items that I would definitely recommend outside of the Rage Stabilizer and the Brave Diode are going to be resources that you actually get quite a bit just because of the enemy types that we have to kill. That's going to be the Rotten Cheese, and that's going to be the Strange Document. The main reason why I would say these two are the basis of what you would want to trade. Granted, it is a request item of 60, which typically I have been trying to stay away from depending on the item, but these items are just so commonly just thrown at you just from killing the enemy types that these would be okay to trade and still would suffice as far as a system to allow you to trade the item, and then you can say maybe request it back, right? Now, the other thing is that I will say that doing too much of this will obviously eat up your resource. Like if there's 3 people requesting Rotten Cheese and you trade 3 Rotten Cheeses to people, that's going to be accumulated to 180 of that requested item. So these are still things that I would not go too crazy on, but I definitely will say that, again, request item at a quantity of 3 is going to be absolutely nothing. You would rather do that than running out of these base mats as well, simply because of the fact that you can craft up. If it wasn't a craft system in the game, I don't think it would matter as much, but because there is, you technically don't have to really farm strange folders. You can just farm the unit type, get strange documents, and make strange folders. Then from those strange folders, you can make the next resource, which is a strange ledger, right? And so these are the things that you have to kind of consider. Another resource I just wouldn't trade here, obviously, are going to be these resources here. These are the cores, right? So the cores, granted, you can obtain them from chests, but you don't get them like as often as you would think. Like 170, like these are built up and accumulated from combination me doing some rift dungeons and from opening chests. That's that's not nearly as much as some of my other resources, right? And another one, right, for the Weeping Heart of Vengeance, just the Heart of Vengeance period. This is a resource I would hold on to, just simply because the boss or the mid boss that you have to kill, I know you get it to spawn more often in like Fractal Vice, but it's going to be one of those overworld bosses that you just have to kind of fight. I think also with the broken headpiece that comes from one of the mid bosses as well. So these are just things that you're going to want to hold on to. They're not as easy to obtain, just simply because you just have to fight that specific boss, and the willingness to want to fight that boss all the time just kind of varies from person to person. But then even the quantity that it's requesting, granted, on the Heart of Vengeance, you're still at that request item of 3, but I've been farming and playing this game for like 90 plus hours, and I still don't even have 3 of these yet. Granted, I can craft up, but it's just the nature of the mentality of like how that just doesn't drop that often, right? Now, the other thing is too, is that when we're looking at some of these last items here, these last items are also going to be pretty common, but again, they require your booster, right? So the Salt Tier, the Voice Shell, the Minato Shard, the Vision Cube, Blood Tier, Miracle Storage, Shinagawa Shard, and the Brown Cube, I would hold off from trading those. And that's just simply because, again, at the quantity of 60, you're going to run into, you're basically trading a 3-to-1 ratio, which means, again, you're trading 60, or you're getting back 60, but trading off 120, right? So even if you were to trade only the same item and request that item back, you would still be at a deficient number or value, versus if you are requesting at a 3 ratio, right? I would say, what is that? I guess it's still a 3-to-1 ratio, but on a 3 quantity, you're going to technically not really be losing much. And it's easier to replace or replenish 3 of these than it is to replenish 60 of one of these, right? So just to kind of paint that picture, guys, I hope that that is able to kind of contextualize and help you out a little bit more with the request. Again, join my Discord, guys, because this is going to be essential if you want to continue to play this game free to play. With the currency that we currently have allotted to us, like I said, this is going to equate to 4,200 crystals per month, right? As is, and they might adjust this and make it better, who knows? But I definitely will say this is a way for you to obtain some extra resources for things you might need. But I also would say, most importantly, it's really so that you can get that daily income fully, getting 150 instead of 120, because then you're able to fulfill that full amount. So yeah, guys, that's basically going to be that with this one. Everyone, stay blessed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.